Yo, we have a very hard video right here. The 2025 NBA Draft Lottery just broke the NBA. Now, if you know, bruh, the NBA has officially screwed the Wizards out of a number one pick that at least the Jazz, Wizards, or Hornets had. But no, it goes to the stupid Dallas Mavericks. Now, let me just see what this guy has to say, because he's probably going to bring up a lot of points I already know in my head. But let's get to the vid.
This is what the NBA draft lottery odds were before the lottery, and this is how the actual draft
so disgusting, bro. It's ridiculous. Let me get through.
Order shook out. The Dallas Mavericks with a 1.8% chance. I say again,
like 1.8. Like, how do you get away with that, NBA? No, it's just so. They went from Luka Doncic to Cooper Flag. Like, I can't even. I have to stick around with this Wizards team that went 18-64. No, I'm gonna stay down, Wizards. I'm gonna stay down. Because the light will prevail one day. One out of these years.
1.8% chance of getting the first overall pick.
We couldn't even get this man right here. We couldn't even get him, bro. We had to get 6. We couldn't even get top 3. 6 is crazy. 6 is nasty.
In the draft, have ended up with Cooper Flag and the first overall pick. Or at least we assume that Cooper Flag is going to be in a Mavs jersey. That certainly can change. San Antonio ends up at 2.
It's
they
not
jump up.
changing,
Philadelphia
bro.
at 3. Charlotte falls to 4, as do Utah, Washington, and New Orleans. Those are the top 4 teams in lottery odds.
Bro.
And they end up 4, 5, 6, and 7. An absolutely insane lottery night. There's 1,000 different directions to go in, but I have to begin with the Dallas Mavericks at first overall. First and foremost, there's a report out there that this was Chicago or Dallas, and it came down to a tiebreaker, and they did a coin flip, and Chicago lost the coin flip, so they're at 12 because that's the nature of the way the lottery works, and Dallas goes all the way up to number 1, so they literally lost out on Cooper Flag because of a coin flip, which is absolutely brutal. But the Dallas Mavericks...
It's just absurd, a coin flip. That's how we decided in the big 2025, a coin flip. They just went... and that's it. You get a generational talent.
Winning the lottery, a few months removed from the worst trade in the history of the league, trading away 25, 26-year-old Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers in exchange for 30-something Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick. Having that...
Like, we understand what the NBA is doing, because there's no way that script should have scripted like that. They said when LeBron retires... Listen to the scenario. When LeBron retires... We're going to have Luka Doncic in this market of LA on the Lakers. That's sold. That's done for. It's cooked. Then we're going to go to Dallas, give Dallas Cooper Flag along with Kyrie and Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson. And we can, you know how much marketing they can do with that? NBA, we know what you're doing. I see through it. I see through what y'all doing.
Happened a few months ago, the first actual riot and mutiny within an NBA fan base that we've maybe ever had, where Mavs fans are actively chanting to fire the GM at home games, and they're basically giving up on the franchise. A few months ago, if there was a single Mavs fan out there that was like, you know what, I quit, I don't want to be a member of this fan base anymore, I want to go find a new team, for the first time in maybe the history of the league, I would have been like, yeah, cool, go for it, that sounds fine. That was a few months ago. And now they're presumably going to have Cooper Flag on the team. Flag being the number 1 overall prospect in this scenario.
It makes no sense how they get away with. Gosh, bro. They made Nico Harrison look like a genius, because there's no way that should have happened. 2 generational talents just end up on your team like that, back to back. No, I see.
For Dallas is unbelievable for them, because a big part of the draw for him is that he's not your typical number 1 overall guy where he's going to be your primary scorer and he's going to do everything for you. You're going to give him the ball and have him run 90 pick and rolls a game. That's not what he does. He's a really good connecting in between piece that is so young that's going to continue to grow and improve, and a connecting piece on the wing at the 4 is exactly what Dallas needs. They've got Kyrie at the point. They've got Anthony Davis in the front court, Cooper Flag in between. That is an unbelievable stroke of luck after what has been maybe the most...
It's not luck. It's script. It's WWE script. Just call NBA the WWE, bro. NBAE, National Basketball Association of Entertainment. Because it's just entertainment. This isn't real. This isn't cooked. I know a script when I see it.
Fastest handful of bunts from a front office perspective in the history of the NBA in Dallas. And you can say all you want to about how they don't deserve it and it's crazy they ended up there. They won 39 games in the West and they're picking higher than teams like Utah and Washington and New Orleans.
Makes no
won
sense.
In the teens in terms of games. But that's the way that the lottery works, and fortunately for Mavs fans, they're going to be coming back to their team, and that's just how the lottery works.
Like, they were just in the finals last year, bro. It makes no sense.
But the bigger subplot here for them is Cooper Flag actually going to be on the team? Because all day today, there's been conversations around the fact that Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be meeting with the Milwaukee Bucks to discuss his future. And Dallas winning the first overall pick, San Antonio getting the second pick, the Sixers getting the third pick. All of that really matters within the Giannis conversation, because if you're the Bucks and you're trading away Giannis, the best thing you can get is someone like Cooper Flag or someone like Dylan Harper at the top of this draft. And if Dallas shows the same apathy towards the long-term future of their team that they did when they traded away Luka in exchange for Anthony Davis, then that line of thinking leads you to believe that this might be a Kevin Love kind of situation where Cleveland ends up trading for Kevin Love. They trade away Andrew Wiggins, and then all of a sudden they've created this star-powered contending team in Cleveland. Obviously, I'm not comparing Giannis.
I was about to say, hold on, wait a minute. Cleveland?
Kevin Love and Andrew Wiggins, Cooper Flag, but the situation is similar to where you got a team out there that wants to add a star. You've got a team that just won the first overall pick in the lottery, and each of those two teams can benefit from the other. And if I'm Milwaukee, I'm calling all these teams in the top three, and I'm like, hey, what can we do to try and make this happen? And let's make sure it starts with your top three pick. You're not getting Giannis unless you give us one of those picks. And obviously this assumes that Giannis wants to ask out, but that's an assumption that I'm making right now. And that is a fantastic place for Milwaukee to start. In comparison to prior to this draft lottery, they were not going to have that option because presumably...
I'm not going to lie. If I was a Mavericks, we already know Mavericks aren't trading that pick. But I ain't trading Cooper Flag for Giannis. That might be crazy to say, but in the long term, that's like... You're going to have to pay this man all that money right now because you know what you're getting with him. Cooper, you're just getting a fresh prospect with no contract, just his rookie contract. You ain't got to pay him nothing for real. Actually, you do. This is number one overall pick. But not compared to that man right there. He's making 200 or 300 something mil. You do not need to pay Cooper Flag at all. And you just might get a generational talent.
Going to be Charlotte or Utah or Washington and New Orleans that was going to end up with that pick, and that just wasn't as good of an option in terms of a trade destination for Giannis. Now, let's talk about the second overall pick here, because presumably this is going to be Dylan Harper, which is really interesting for San Antonio. I think most people have Cooper Flag in his own tier, than Dylan Harper, and maybe his own tier, and then some of the other guys, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, some of these other guys as well, towards the kind of third tier-ish of this draft process. And Dylan Harper is interesting because the Spurs...
Ace Bailey is 6'10"? Jesus, I didn't even know that. But Dylan is 6'6", 220. Okay. I see.
Just traded for De'Aaron Fox, and it's not that they're the same kind of...
I couldn't even see the Wizards get in the top three, bro. That is nasty. Like, there is Wembanyama on this team. Kyrie, AD, Klay Thompson, Gafford, Lively, and all the above on that one. And then Embiid, PG, Tyrese Maxey. How could I forget about him? Then you just get a top three pick.
It's just that Dylan Harper would have been perfect before they traded for De'Aaron Fox, and so now finding a way to get those two guys to fit together in the front court is going to be very interesting.
How could I forget about De'Aaron Fox on the Spurs? They would have got the second overall pick. If they would have got number one, they would have been set. They would have been good for a few years. I'm not going to lie. They might have been contended for a ring. Maybe.
Assuming that's who they're going to pick, maybe they'll end up with somebody else. But that group with Fox and Harper and Wemby and whoever else is super, super interesting if, again, they don't end up with Giannis trading away the Dylan Harper pick in exchange for Giannis. Philadelphia here.
Giannis and Victor on the same team is kind of wild. That is some 2K type of running. But Bucks don't do that trade. That's horrible.
Number 3, you want to talk about big winners of the night. They very easily could have ended up with no lottery pick. They had a top 6 protected pick that they owed to Oklahoma City. And so not only did they get to keep the pick, but they jump all the way up to 3rd overall. And they're probably not going to end up with Dylan Harper. And they're not going to end up with Cooper Flag. But they could end up with a really nice connecting piece for a roster that includes Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, who was really good before he got hurt. You've got Paul George, who hopefully would get healthy. Joel Embiid, who hopefully would get healthy. This is a semi-contending roster, if it's healthy, that you're just going to add a top 3 pick to, again, assuming they don't trade that pick away in exchange for Giannis. And I would say this, too, with specifically Dallas and Philadelphia. We've seen
Imagine if the Sixers would have got the number 1. I'd have rided it. Joel Embiid, PG, and Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain in 2025. I don't know. Maybe healthy if that would be a nice lineup, but that's not. I don't know. Let me know if that would be a nice team.
Teams try to do this before, where if you're saying they should keep Cooper Flagg in the Dallas's case and the Sixers should just keep the 3rd overall pick in their case, we've seen teams in the past try and do that, where they've got a young guy on the roster, they're trying to develop him, and they've got a veteran group around them that they think can contend for a title. I'm thinking about someone like James Wiseman. I'm thinking about really just that whole Golden State era in general, the whole 2 timelines thing, where they had a...
Warriors sold on that one. They could have had LaMelo Ball. Yeah, Jay picked James Wiseman. In the moment, it was nice. He was a 3-point shooting big. That man just did not develop into what he was supposed to be.
Young guy tried to develop it just didn't work because there was so much pressure on them to fit into a group rather than growing their own game. That would certainly be a concern. Not as much of a concern for a team like Dallas, because I think Cooper Flagg is just that good of a prospect and is that versatile of a prospect. But for a team like Philadelphia, I think they would really explore the possibility of trading the 3rd overall pick, just because of where their team is at, where their timeline is at with someone like Joel Embiid, and how in the past we've seen that potentially negatively impact the development of certain prospects. There's even a possibility here for Philadelphia where you could convince me that they keep the pick, and then a year from now, let's say it doesn't go well, and then you're trading away Joel Embiid, you're trading away Paul George, and you're building around whoever they pick 3rd overall, plus Jared McCain, plus Tyrese Maxey. That's a pretty decent future for you as well. And for the Sixers to end up with this pick, there's going to be a lot of conversation about how the Mavs have been saved by the lottery. The Sixers, you could argue, might have been saved by the lottery just as much. Outside of the top 3, by far the biggest
Mavericks by far got saved the most. By far. They were not supposed to have the number 1 pick. Me and my friends saw, when it got to the top 5, and we saw Dallas in the mix, we knew what the script was going to do. We knew Dallas was getting that pick. I don't know how, but we just knew.
Line of the night is these other 4 teams.
It's ridiculous.
Charlotte, Utah, Washington, New Orleans. The 4 best odds at not
and
only the
none
first
of them
overall...
got a top pick, a top 3 pick. It's ridiculous, bro. Like, it makes no sense. We got 19 and 63, 18 and 64, 17 and 65, and they couldn't get a top 3 pick at all.
But obviously staying inside of the top 4, they all fell down, and they fell down a long ways. Charlotte's the only team that even got to go to commercial thinking that they had an outside chance of ending up with Cooper Flagg, but they got jumped by 3 teams. That's just how the lottery works. You have an outside chance of getting in the top 4. If you get that, it moves teams down, and it moves a bunch of teams down. And it's not that tanking necessarily doesn't work. It's just, going into it that you are risking a lot. It's a 14% chance, best case scenario, to end up with the number 1 overall pick. And of course, you're assuming you're not going to get jumped by 3 teams.
Hey, this is some 2K type of pack odds. It's like I'm spending $200K on a deluxe 2K box for, $200K on a deluxe box of 10 cards. I get no opals, I get no dark matters, nothing. And then my friend opens a base pack in 2K, and he gets 100 overall wet bananas. Come on, I see what y'all doing, 2K. I see it.
So low as a team like Dallas. But if you're one of these other teams, maybe like the Nets or the Raptors, that are thinking, man, if we had just tanked more, then maybe we could end up with a really high pick. That's not always how it goes. And frankly, it's just really disappointing and heartbreaking if you're a team like Charlotte, Utah, Washington, New Orleans, even the Nets or the Raptors that threw away an entire season. In the case of Charlotte and Utah and Washington and New Orleans, had single-digit wins on the season. You threw away the entire year.
Wizards went on 2 16-game losing streaks. That's all I have to say. Imagine watching that as a fan. We're going to stay strong. To get not necessarily nothing, but certainly not the thing that you were hoping for. Speaking of the Nets, we got to talk about this like Chicago zone, basically this Bulls zone between 8 and 12, where it seems like the Bulls are always picking. Again, the Bulls coin flip thing is absolutely brutal, but at 8 is the Brooklyn Nets. I'm a Nets fan, and this is especially brutal for a few reasons. One, this is the first time in a while the Nets had an actual chance at getting the first overall pick. It was exciting. I was really amped up for the draft or for the lottery, and for them to end up at 8 when their odds were at 6 really sucks to get jumped by some of these other teams. But also, that Rockets pick at 10th
That's the Phoenix Suns pick. That's a pick that Brooklyn owned right up until the offseason when they traded a lot of those picks to Houston to get their own pick back this year. And the difference between them and Phoenix ends up being just 2 selections. If you had told the Nets at the beginning of the year that their pick and Phoenix's pick after the lottery was going to end up just 2 spots apart, they certainly would not have made the deal that they did. It's a risk that they took. There was a lot of people saying that they should have been trying to lose more games. Again, that didn't really help teams like Charlotte, Utah, Washington, or New Orleans. New Orleans, who only ended up 1 spot off of Brooklyn, but still, it is a brutal outcome for a Nets franchise that is trying to gear up for some really exciting things this offseason and ultimately fell short. Same thing with a team like Toronto that had potentially high hopes for, it wasn't great odds. It was 7-something%. But again, you look at Dallas, 1.8% chance.
Dallas 1.8. It's not great odds, but Dallas gets to that 1.8. It just worked my blood pressure up for no reason watching this vid.
To jump up all the way to number 1 overall.
And then the whole highlights is Cooper Flag. I just watched a 10-minute vid of Cooper Flag highlights. God dang, bro.
In the late lottery, you've got some smaller storylines like the fact that the Hawks got their pick from Sacramento because some teams jumped up. This was probably the craziest NBA draft lottery night that I can remember. 3 teams jumping up like this, one of which with such a low percentage chance to get the first overall pick in the Dallas Mavericks, and the way that it changes everything for Dallas.
And for the pick to be Cooper Flag is what gets me. Like, if it would have happened last year, I wouldn't have cared. Nobody would have cared. But of course, the Wizards get the one draft where the clear number 1 or number 2 isn't locked. And let's just draft Derek Queen and call it a day. Whatever is from Maryland, but he's gonna be tough. He baby Jokic. He's gonna be nice. Let's just go ahead and draft him. Just don't mess it up, please. Don't mess it up. Just draft him from Maryland, my hometown hero. And just go ahead and get out the way.
For Philadelphia, to an extent, for the Spurs, and this looming Giannis situation over the Mavs. If you were to script the NBA, if you were to put something together to create the best content, to create the
word to script, it is scripted. We know script when we see it.
Most conversation to create an
Somebody said Adam McMahon. Adam McMahon is in the works right now.
Environment where everybody is talking about the NBA for the next week. This was the exact outcome. The Mavs being saved by the lottery ping pong balls. The Spurs getting another potentially really good young player and potentially a piece in a Giannis trade. The Sixers getting to add a top 3 pick to a veteran group that looks to be potentially a contender next season. All of those things shaking out in place of Charlotte or Utah or Washington, New Orleans getting the first pick, or those 4 teams ending up with just the top 4 picks in the draft, the way that the chalk would have been, the way the odds would have been. Just an unbelievable sequence of events. You want to talk about unlikely, you want to talk about the definition of a lottery, that's what we had tonight.
Well, I'm gonna watch this vid next. I'm gonna save this one. But we gonna get, bro, I gotta get out that vid. I need to go back though for the comments at least.
Chance of getting the first.
Get this vid out of here, but let me see the comments, bro. Hey Nico, if you trade Luka to the most popular team in the league to help Braun's title chance, we'll make sure you get Cooper. Adam McMahon, the integrity of the NBA. It's cooked. It's done for it. Cause it makes no sense. That script is insane, bro. It is just horrible. NBA 100% rigged. They just did this, bro. They wanted some views. They wanted some WWE type of views. We know what y'all doing, bro. And just keep it pushing. I'm going to the NFL. My Commanders are finally good, and I'm fine with that. Get out of this vid. Deuces.